Sparkle's release in a couple weeks is going to allow players to run the best version of the Mono Quantum team, and I think this team is going to be one of the best in the game, especially because of the insanely powerful characters that you're able to use on this team. So today, we're going to look at everything that makes Mono Quantum such a really strong team, and we're also going to look towards the end of the video at how the team's viability kind of shifts when you don't have certain characters on it, because this team definitely has a strong ceiling, but if you are missing certain characters, it will make the team not as good, but we'll get into that at the end, so definitely stick around for that. So starting out with what makes the Mono Quantum team so good. So to really put this into perspective, let's talk about other mono comps first, because there are teams that can run mono comps, like Imaginary can run a mono comp with like Imbibitor Lune, Yukong, Locha, and you can run Well as well. I think I've seen people do things like that. Those comps, while they can be good, they are quite situational, because if you're going against an enemy that doesn't have the weakness for the team, then you're not really going to be able to run them as a mono comp, because you're just not going to be performing as well. But with Mono Quantum, you have access to Silverwolf, and Silverwolf is able to apply one of the types of your characters onto the enemy as one of their weaknesses. So what that means is if you're running a full quantum team, that means you have a 100% chance to apply the quantum weakness to the enemy. And this just means that you're going to be performing a lot better when it comes to damage and also being able to weakness break the enemy. So this team ends up becoming very consistent, since you are able to apply the quantum weakness very reliably. So you don't even have to worry about, oh, like, does this character have a quantum weakness when I go into this fight? You can bring this team into any fight, apply that quantum weakness, and completely just go to town. And I do think now the other thing that makes it really good is that now with the release of Sparkle coming, every main role that would make this team amazing is going to be fulfilled, because Sparkle was the last piece that we needed, which perfectly transitions me into what I think are the 4 main pieces of the Mono Quantum team. And of course, I'll go over all of the different options, because there are a good number of quantum characters that could be ran, and there are definitely, if you don't have every character that's on here, as long as you're able to fill the 4 main requirements, you should still be good to build the Mono Quantum team. So starting out with the first role, which I'm going to call the enabler, which enables the team to function, is going to be Silverwolf. Now, I'll keep this kind of brief because I've talked about Silverwolf already in this video, but the Quantum Weakness Break application is extremely good for just making the team function and allowing you to use it in pretty much any situation. Plus, for Silverwolf, she also does have a lot of debuffs she can provide, which will increase your damage overall, because she has her bugs, which will decrease the enemy's attack, defense, or speed. She has defense shred on her ultimate, and then her skill, which is where you apply that the quantum weakness, will also get debuff the enemy's all types resistance, which is really good for just making your DPSs do more damage. And speaking of your DPSs, that's the second role here, and you have 3 main DPS options for this team, which are Seele and Qingque for the upper end DPSs, but if not, you also have Xueyi. And this is a really important role for the team, because you got to be able to do a bunch of damage, and with the way the team is built up, you're going to be able to do a ton of damage, not just with Silverwolf's debuffs, but also with some of the other characters that we're going to go over as well. I do think that when it comes to the power of these characters, if you have all 3 of them, I do think Seele and Qingque, given that Qingque is E4 or higher, are at a pretty similar power level, but and with Xueyi slightly below them, I would say. But if you don't have high Eidolons on your Qingque, then I probably would recommend either Seele or Xueyi. But if you have a good amount of investment in all 3, I think it really just comes down to the situation, like single target versus multi-target for Seele versus Qingque. And then also, if one of them has a bit better of a build than another, then I would say focus on using them. And for the DPS, pretty much all the buffs on the team are going to go towards them. So you're going to be able to just maximize their damage with the build for Mono Quantum. Then the third role of the Mono Quantum team is going to be the Buffer, which as soon as her banner comes out will be Sparkle. And we don't have full details on her kit yet officially, but from the 2.0 live stream, we do know that Sparkle is going to be able to regenerate 4 skill points with her ultimate, as well as increase the cap for the amount of skill points that you can use, which is really good because you're just going to be able to use those skill points for these skill point hungry characters. Like Seele uses a lot of skill points, Qingque uses a lot, and that's all going to be really good. Plus also Sparkle does have some action advance on her skill, not to the same effect of Bronya for it to be 100% action advance, but it will still be helpful to get some extra actions throughout each cycle as well for you. And then lastly, for your sustain character, which is the final role, your 2 options for that are going to be Xuan and Lynx. Now, I do think that Xuan is absolutely the better option because you do get, with not only her amazing sustain capabilities, but also with her Matrix of Prescience up, you do get a, I believe it's a 10% crit rate boost, team-wide, which is really good and just allows your DPSs to be more consistent when it comes to landing crits. But even if you don't have Xuan, you do have Lynx for free with the by doing stage 2 of Pure Fiction. So if you just have Lynx, you're still going to perform very well. Plus also, since of the 3 DPSs, Xueyi is probably going to be the best in terms of taking hits. Lynx will be able to hopefully direct more damage to Xueyi with her extra aggro value for destruction and preservation characters. So that's also really good there. So yeah, those are the 4 pieces: the Enabler in Silverwolf, the DPS in Seele, Qingque, or Xueyi, the Buffer in Sparkle, and then the Sustain in either Xuan or Lynx. So now I want to transition to how viable is the Mono Quantum team going to be if you're missing certain characters here. Because in certain situations it can work, and in other situations it's not going to be that great for you. So I do think though that the only character that completely makes the team fall apart if you don't have them is Silverwolf. Because if you're running a Quantum team without Silverwolf, that means that you're going back to that same inconsistency I mentioned that every other mono team in the game has, which is hoping that the fight that you're doing is weak to Quantum so that you can just use your Quantum characters there. Silverwolf allows you to use the Mono Quantum team in any situation regardless of what weakness types the enemy has, because you're able to give them that Quantum weakness. So not having Silverwolf basically makes the team fall apart there. So that is something important to keep in mind there. Then I think the other elephant in the room for a lot of people is going to be Sparkle. So if you don't have Sparkle on the team, I do think that the team is still runnable. You can run a sub DPS Xueyi in that slot. You can run double sustain if you feel like you need it with Xuan and Lynx. But from my testing, due to the lack of buffs on the Mono Quantum team, if you're not running Sparkle, it tends to be a lot better for you to, in that slot, instead of putting on one of the other Quantum characters, to run a Harmony support from a different element based on the fight you're going into. So for example, if I'm going into the Kafka boss fight where she's weak to physical, wind, and imaginary, if I don't have a Sparkle, I'll use a Bronya there, because Bronya is the wind element, which means that I'll be able to, and since Kafka already has the wind element, Silverwolf will always apply Quantum. So just playing around fights with that, it's not as consistent as freeform, or I wouldn't say freeform, but it's not as easy, I would say, as having the having Sparkle there for the full Mono Quantum team. But if you have plenty of supports built up, then you can make this work with whatever fight you're gonna be in. Then, thankfully, for the other 2 roles, for the Sustains and DPS characters, if you're missing one of the characters, or missing a couple of the characters, it is not the end of the world. For Sustains, it's probably the least worrisome to be missing Xuan, because you do get Lynx for free by doing stage 2 of Pure Fiction. So if you get Lynx even at E0, she's going to be able to perform well and be your sustain there. So you don't have to worry too much about that. And then if you are, let's say for example, you're missing Seele because she is the only limited 5-star DPS for Quantum, that's still fine because you do get Qingque for free, and then Xueyi is a 4-star. But as I said before, Qingque's true potential really doesn't come out until she's E4 to be able to get that follow-up attack on her. So if you haven't pulled any other Qingques and you just have the free copy, then I probably would suggest, if you do have Xueyi, to probably invest in her first until you get enough copies of Xueyi to get E4, or if you end up pulling Seele or maybe some future Quantum DPS, that's going to work extremely well with the team here. So for characters here, I think as long as you are not missing either Silverwolf or Sparkle, you can run that true Mono Quantum team. So to wrap it up here, the Mono Quantum team is going to be an amazing team for all the people who have invested in a bunch of Quantum characters over time, because they are really just going to be able to bring out the highest, I think the highest potential of these characters, and being able to run them in pretty much any kind of situation. And this is a team that I'm absolutely going to be running and showcasing on the team once Sparkle drops. I've been saving for her, and I am just really excited to be able to use a full Quantum team. So let me know what you think about this team in the comments down below. I do hope that this guide on the team helped you all out. If you've been thinking about running the Mono Quantum team on the fence of like, oh, should I pull for Sparkle? But with that, everyone, I'm going to end off the video here. Thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed and haven't already, definitely be sure to leave a like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and ring that notification bell. But with that, I will see you all next time.